Hello, and welcome to my Bowman skill build video for Maplestory Classic World. Considering it is the middle of March 2026, with about a month before the closed online beta starts, and at this point no announced release date, you may be thinking, isn't this a little premature? And the answer is undoubtedly. But I know as well as you do that we are all desperate for any kind of classic Maple content right now, and apparently all of the good content takes months to create, so this is what you're going to get. This video is really more of a self-soothing technique for me to pass time while I tap my foot anxiously, waiting for April 14th to get here so that I can finally spend an appreciable amount of time back in the world of Maplestory. But I digress. Seriously though, the way I'm approaching this is more along the style of an Internet Shaquille cooking video, where the main goal here is not to tell you what to do. We have no idea what these skills will look like on release, and who knows how things will change over the years. Instead, what I aim to do here is show you how I think, so that way when the game does finally release, you'll have a framework that you can use to come up with your own build based on your own personal priorities. So with that all said, let's jump in. Starting off, these are all of the first job skills for Bowman. Starting with the top left, we've got Critical Shot, where at level 1, it gives you plus 1% crit chance and crit damage, and then by level 15, it gives you plus 15% crit chance and crit damage. My thoughts on this are crit chance and crit damage are amazing stats. Basically, every additional point that you put into crit chance and crit damage is even better than the last point that you put in, like that marginal value that you get in terms of just expected damage it's a quadratic curve. So long story short, Critical Shot good. Anytime across any class you see the ability to give yourself critical chance or critical damage, you're pretty much always going to want that. I can't think of a time where you're not going to want that. Next up, we have Amazon's Judgment. This is a skill where at level 1, when you get a critical hit, there's a 55% chance to reduce the monster's speed by 20. And then at level 15, you have a 100% chance to reduce the speed by 35 on a crit. And it requires 3 critical shots before you can put any points in here. On its own, as a first job skill, this one I'm not seeing too much value. With the base 5% crit chance that it seems that every class has now, even maxing crit shot, you have a 20% chance to crit. So even if you're spending 15 points into Amazon's Judgment, that first job, you're really only slowing monsters roughly 20% of the time. So it'll have more context later, but just on its own for first job, I'm not terribly impressed. Third up, we have the Eye of Amazon, where level 1, it gives you plus 10 range on all your attacks, and then at level 15, it gives you plus 150 range. This is another one of those skills where, okay, high value, like you're a bowman, an archer. You want to be taking shots from distances, so this skill gives you that distance necessary. Fourth up, we have Focus. It is 8 mana to give you plus 1 accuracy and avoid for 70 seconds at level 1. And then at level 20, for 16 mana, you get 25 accuracy and avoid for 300 seconds or 5 minutes. And this one requires 3 points into Eye of Amazon before you can start leveling it up. I, at this point, don't know how to value accuracy and avoidability. Like if you watch my other video where I'm at the in-person playtest in January, it seemed like no matter how much accuracy I was pumping, I was still getting misses even on monsters like snails. So I'm not sure how to actually like take what these stats are just yet. So I'm kind of feeling the same kind of way about Focus. as I was kind of with Amazon's Judgment, where it's hard to really say how useful that is. And then finally we have the 2 damage skills for Bowman, Arrow Blow and Double Shot. I didn't track what the level 1 skill does for Arrow Blow. If it tracks with Double Shot, I'm going to guess it's something like 8 mana to do 202% damage, just assuming that those relate to each other the same way. Between these 2 skills, the argument, the debate between Arrow Blow and Double Shot is totally back. So damage-wise, they're identical pretty much as far as like average expected damage. The difference is that Double Shot, because you technically get 2 chances at a crit, you're going to have lower variance in your damage. But with the change that they made to Double Shot is that you will always be prioritizing 2 enemies. So Double Shot does not work the same way, or at least as of the in-person playtest, does not work the same way as it does in the original version of Maplestory. It's basically like a mobbing skill now, where if there are 2 monsters, you will hit each monster for 1 line of damage rather than just the first monster for 2 lines of damage. So when I'm thinking of making a build for a Bowman, the first thing that I'm trying to do is just figure out what skills do I want. I'm not necessarily concerned yet in which order I'm going to get them. So the way I start out is by putting all of the skills into 3 extremely subjective buckets. And that is cornerstones, high priority skills, and then low priority skills. So your cornerstones are skills that are basically like, I don't care what you say, I am always going to take these skills no matter what. And so probably not much of a surprise, but Critical Shot and Eye of the Amazon are 2 skills that I consider cornerstones of the Bowman class, where I'm taking these every single time. Which then, for high priority skills, these are skills that, you could probably argue for yourself are cornerstones, but for me, it's just I just classify them differently. This is Arrow Blow and Double Shot. So just because I have both of these skills in here doesn't mean that I am necessarily putting points into both or maxing both. It is just this first pass at classifying the skills at like what order I want to take things in, or how I want to spend my skill point budget. And so that's how I'm classifying those 2. And then finally, for low priority, we've got Focus and Amazon's Judgment. So now that we've got those identified, the next step that I do is I just chop the low priority. And then I'm also going to get rid of Arrow Blow, because in this exercise, I'm doing a build where I'm taking Double Shot over Arrow Blow, even though in reality, there's a good chance that I build my Bowman with Arrow Blow over Double Shot. But anyway, so with those first 2 cornerstones, those are going to cost you 30 points. They're 15 points each. And then with Double Shot, that's going to run you 21 points. Double Shot itself is 20 points, but you need that 1 point in Arrow Blow in order to put points into Double Shot. So when you're looking at the 61 total points that you get in first job, this is 51 points that you are spending with 10 remaining points. If you're curious how you got that 61, I'm assuming that you're still getting the free point when you get your job advancement at level 10, and then you have 20 levels of 3 points each. So 20 times 3, 60, plus the free 1 point is 61. And then you subtract here the ones that I've allocated to my cornerstones and high priority, so I've got 10 remaining points. I'm not going to worry about allocating these yet. That's for later. So because we have the insight of second job, I'm going to take those 10 points, put them off to the side, and then I'm going to start taking a look at the second job skills. So I'm clumping Hunter and Crossbowman together. They're pretty much identical, with just like kind of slight differences in their mobbing skill. So first off, with the second job skills, you have Bow Mastery and Crossbow Mastery. Another one where I didn't capture what the level 1 skill does, but this is one where mastery is a highly valued skill. What it does is it raises the floor of your damage range. So let's say, but before you get any mastery, your damage range is like 10 to 100 damage. After taking mastery, it raises that floor so that your damage range would be like 90 to 100 damage. Purely illustrative numbers there. That alone makes mastery like absolutely worth it. With the hunter and crossbowman mastery, they've also added this elimination of bow whacking. So usually if you're up close next to an enemy, you can't actually shoot, but the mastery skill now completely eliminates that when you max it out. So already you have the benefit of the mastery, but now you also don't have to worry about being a certain distance away in order to be able to shoot your arrows, which is a huge boost to both hunters and crossbowmen. And if that wasn't good enough, you still get more. So like bows, if you're a hunter, maxing it out gives you 50 avoidability. So again, like not sure how to value that yet. Need to spend more time in game to see what 50 avoidability actually does. But then for crossbows, you get a 20% chance to ignore enemy defense. That is an evergreen passive. Like from level 30 to 200, being able to ignore 20%, or 20% of the time being able to ignore defense is incredible. So crossbowmen are doing really well with their mastery. I'd nominate the crossbow mastery as like one of the best skills in Classic World. So really liking the mastery. With booster, the next skill up at level 1, and this is nuts. So booster is one of those skills that is like in one way identical to how it was back in 2006, in that it lowers your weapon attack speed by 2 stages, making you attack faster. But it is also drastically changed in that at level 1 you get 100 seconds worth of booster. So in the old version of the game, you got 10 seconds at level 1. So booster, just looking at it here, like the difference between costs, like costing 30 HP versus 10 HP, and then 30 MP versus 10 MP, like I have no motivation really to spend any more points than I absolutely have to here, because starting at level 1, I get what's important, which is that +2 or that weapon speed reduction of 2, bringing you down 2 stages for a minute and a half, a minute 40 seconds. So as much as I love booster, it's also like I don't want to be throwing too many points in there, because additional points don't really give me much benefit. Final attack, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about final attack. I do a pretty good rant on it in my playtest video, so I'll direct you there if you want to get some of my thoughts on final attack, but just don't worry about final attack in its current state. Hopefully they change that for the actual release or the online beta, but as of right now, I've got nothing really positive to say about final attack as far as taking it as a skill. So then power knockback, I've got kind of a soft spot for power knockback. I think power knockback is going to be more important for hunters than it will be for crossbowmen, just because of how arrow bomb works, where if an enemy is standing right in front of you, even if you have that 100% elimination of the bow whack through max mastery, having arrow bomb go out and hitting that enemy right next to you shortens the range. Like, you're not going to be able to get the full range out of arrow bomb. Whereas with iron arrow, doesn't matter if that enemy is standing right next to you or is way out there, that thing pierces through, you're going to get the full range and benefit as iron arrow. So the way I see power knockback fitting in for hunters, at least, is you use that to cluster up enemies, so that way your arrow bomb is able to actually hit all of the enemies that you'd want to. It has the special kind of little point here where it is a 100% crit chance when using power knockback, I didn't understand the significance of that when I was at the in-person playtest, but some people were kind enough to point out to me that it is to synergize with Amazon's Judgment. So that way, if you have Amazon's Judgment maxed out, when you knock something back, you are also slowing it. So neat little interaction there. I'm curious if that's something that they're going to embrace further for future Bowman skills. Soul Arrow, like Booster, is both identical to its 2006 version and also drastically different. So Soul Arrow worked similarly to Booster, back in the day, in that adding the levels just increased the duration. But now there's this new component where I don't remember what it was, but I know at level 1 it is not 100% arrow replacement. So you had something like a 40% chance to not consume an arrow when attacking. So Soul Arrow is now kind of like the opposite of Booster, where, okay, well, if I actually want to get the full benefit out of this, I am incentivized now to spend 20 points to max it out. And then finally, we have the mobbing skills, Arrow Bomb and Iron Arrow. Arrow Bomb at max level costs 28 mana to do 150 damage to 4 enemies with a 60% chance to stun for 3 seconds. And then Iron Arrow costs the same amount of mana, 28, to do 200% damage to 4 enemies. There's a mechanic there where each time it pierces through, I think it does a little bit less damage. But either way, it still is doing more damage than Arrow Bomb is. I think it's easier to hit all of the enemies you want to. There's a lot of flat platforms in Maplestory, so you're not going to be hindered by the straight line kind of animation of that. Whereas Arrow Bomb works better for like safe spot farming, I guess. We'll have to see kind of what the explosion range, the explosion radius is like. But overall, just kind of like looking at these skills, I think Crossbowman is going to have a little bit of an edge over Hunter. Not terribly huge, but just kind of what I'm seeing in the numbers right now. But with all of those analyzed now, we're going to do the same kind of exercise as we did with First Job, where it's bucket them into the different categories. So cornerstones, I don't think this is going to be a surprise. It's Mastery and Booster. Tightening up that damage range, getting that 100% elimination of bow whacking, plus little additional stats or ignoring armor. It's just so good. And then Booster, being able to reduce your weapon attack speed by 2 stages is also incredible. For my high priority skills, I am choosing the mobbing skills, Arrow Bomb or Iron Arrow, and Soul Arrow. I could very easily see an argument to swap out Power Knockback for Soul Arrow here. I think it's really just kind of dependent on what your priority is. For me, I think I would like as much as I was gushing over Power Knockback and have a soft spot for it, I think I would prefer the convenience of not having to have arrows in my inventory, as well as freeing those use slots up for other things. So that's why I'm placing Soul Arrow there. And then finally, in low priority, no surprise where Final Attack ends up. So again, doing the same kind of calculation, we've got 25 points from our cornerstones. We're only putting in 5 levels in Booster to start because, again, like, we're getting the full benefit of that skill from level 1. So our incentive is to put as little points in that as possible. The only reason why we're putting 5 points in there now is because 5 points are required for Soul Arrow. So to max out Arrow Bomb and Soul Arrow will cost us 50 points. And then same math as before, where you've got the 1 free point for your job advancement, and then you've got the plus 3 points from level 31 to 70. Minus the 75 points that we've dedicated to our cornerstones and high priority here to give us 46 remaining points. So now that we've done that, let's start allocating out the rest of our points. So we've got the 10 remaining from the first job advancement, and then 46 now from second job. So I'm going to visualize it this way, where we start off at the top. We've got our first job on the left, second job on the right. So after taking our cornerstones into account, we're down to 31 points for first job and 96 points for second job. Then we take our high priority skills into account, but in this case, we're just going to knock a point off for arrow blow to give us 10 remaining points after maxing double shot, and then 46 remaining points. So we're now caught up to where we were in the previous exercise. So now is when we get to start spending our points on our low priority skills. And so you can imagine, I'm very happy to see I've got 46 points left. Power knockback is right there. Gimme, 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 gimme. I am now happy because I have power knockback. So what we're left with is Amazon's Judgment, Focus, and Final Attack. And there are 10 points in first job and 26 points in second job. So the neat thing about Maplestory is that all of your skill points are backwards compatible. So what that means is that, first off, I'm just going to ignore Final Attack. I'm not even going to consider that. But these 26 second job points can also be used for first job. So it's like I've got 36 first job points now, and the only two skills I have left are first job skills. So with 15 points in Amazon's Judgment, now making my power knockback useful, and then 20 points into Focus, amazing. I have one extra point. So screw it, throw it into booster. So this is generally what your skill point allocation is going to look like by the time that you're level 70. So now that we've figured out what skills we're taking and how many points we're putting into them, it's now a matter of picking an order for them. And this is going to be something that, you know, if what skills you're taking was highly subjective, this is even more subjective. But you've made it through being a beginner. You're off Maple Island. You're a Bowman now. You get 1 point at level 10. What are you putting it in? Eye of Amazon. Maybe already starting off controversial here. So, you know, a lot of times it's like, I want to put my first point into arrow blow. I totally feel you. I hear you. Go ahead and do that. I am approaching this skill build in the skill order from the mindset of, you know, day one release. I've got no money. I've got no equipment, you know, completely unfunded. If I take arrow blow at level 10, just throw 1 point in there, I'm going to be burning through mana with no ability to really like buy mana pots. So from my perspective, I'd rather take the skills that give me something for free rather than the stuff where I need to like spend mana on. So for me, that means taking Eye of Amazon and maxing it out until level 15. And then once I hit level 15, along the same line, going for critical shot instead, because critical shot is just like additional free damage. So again, if you want to take arrow blow and then immediately start going into double shot or something, like, more power to you. It's just I'm thinking more of like funding wise, I think it'll be tough. So I'm prioritizing Eye of Amazon and critical shot for free damage and utility until level 20, where you finally get that 1 point in arrow blow. Hopefully I've got enough mesos saved up, or maybe potions from questing that I've done up to this point, that I actually can utilize these skills now. So 20 to 27 is maxing out double shot, and then once we get to 27, you have the choice here, right, where you can either put points into Focus or you can put points into Amazon's Judgment. At this point, I think a Bowman is able to better utilize the stats that you get from Focus than they are from Amazon's Judgment, because again, at this point, you don't have power knockback. The only crits you're doing are the 20% chance crits you're doing through attacking. So and you're not even going to be able to max Amazon's judgment. So it's a 20% chance to slow things 70% of the time or something. So it's I don't know. It's just hard for me to make the case for Amazon's judgment in this situation. So through level 30, you just get those 10 points into focus. And then you get to the second job advancement. So once again, you do your little black marble hunting, and you get boosted up to your either a hunter or a crossbowman. You get 1 free point. What do you put it in? Arrow bomb or iron arrow. Okay, hopefully this one is not as controversial. You've been through all of the hard work it takes to get there. You got to put your first point into something fun. And if you're someone that went through the path of prioritizing arrow blow over double shot, you're going to really appreciate just having a skill that can mob. It's not going to be doing too much damage at this point, but hey, it's better than nothing. After this, got to focus up a little bit. So 31 and 32, you're getting 5 points into mastery, and then very importantly at 32, you're getting that magical, beautiful 1-point wonder booster skill. That 1 point into booster is going to be lasting you a while. And then from 32 to 37, it's maxing out mastery. I think it's pretty universally agreed that getting mastery is better than maxing out your mobbing skill, just because it tightens up your damage range for everything that you do. Plus the whole like not costing mana thing. So, and actually in this case now you've got the whole like removal of bow whacking. Mastery is just too good. Like you want to prioritize mastery as soon as possible. At least in my mind, it's a very easy first skill to prioritize. But once that is done, once you get mastery maxed, then you can move into the fun stuff. Working on your arrow bomb or iron arrow, getting that finally maxed out by level 47. So once that's maxed out, it comes down to, in my mind, either soul arrow or power knockback. In this case, you can kind of tell where I'm going with this. You know, soul arrow requires 5 booster. So 47, I'm putting that 1 extra point into booster, and then 48, putting 3 as well to get me up to 5. So that way from 49 to 55, I can max out soul arrow. From there, it's power knockback until you get that maxed, and then you are done with second job skills. From 62 to 70, you are just going back and finishing out those first job skills that you have. So in this case, now that we have power knockback maxed, I now feel a little bit stronger about Amazon's judgment, so that because I can just like better take advantage of that passive slowing ability. So that's why I prioritize it over finishing out focus from 62 to 67. But then once you hit 67, it's finish out focus, and then you've got your 1 last point for booster. And there you go. That about does it for my Bowman guide. Let me know in the comments if there's anything particular that you like to prioritize in a build. Otherwise, I will be seeing you in the closed online beta in April. Thanks for watching.